it's been a while, but I got Vickers back on MHP show. So welcome back, everyone.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Mark. Always
Yeah,
enjoy being on.
yeah. Happy New Year. I know it's been a while, and Emily is not maybe too familiar with your investing and where you're at. So maybe you can quickly give my new audience here probably who Derek Vickers is.
Yeah. So I run Victory Capital. So that's we basically do real estate investment funds and syndications. We specialize in mobile home parks and the Sun Belt. So in large cities, Dallas, Phoenix, Tucson, Orlando, Tampa. Um, and that's what we do. We buy a value add mobile home parks and turn them around and make them cleaner and safer and a better, more appealing place to live than maybe it was before.
Has that gotten harder in recent years? I feel like because mobile home parks became trendy, I think there's always these things. Let's push mobile home parks. Let's push now. Right now, it's co-living, rent by the room, right? And so, of course, once every podcast is telling people to do it, it gets a little flooded. I've noticed in my area, they were getting bought up for a couple of years, and now the prices are. It's just crazy. What are the challenges you faced from when you started doing that too? Tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely more competition and there's more consolidation happening, but there's still deals out there. I'm pretty focused in markets, and so I don't just spray and pray or buy only seller financing. Like I know exactly where I'm going to buy in these few specific markets, and I know my buy box. And there's deals, right? We're really good at finding deals. It's not easy to find deals. But yeah, it's definitely challenging. Prices have gone up. So, sellers, some are unrealistic, pie in the sky numbers. And, some are not. I mean, some of these guys, they are getting a little more realistic. I will say that. But also I think buyers are more optimistic about the future. So, the pricing was coming down and are like, it's getting closer, right? So I'm not seeing like these massive price gaps where people want, you know, 4 caps for their deals. And, those numbers just don't work. But that's definitely been a challenge here in the last few years.
For those of you tuning in just now, yeah, Derek is a mobile home park investor syndicator, mainly in Florida. So I know last time you were on, so most of your stuff is in Florida, right? But were you also branching to like North Carolina and stuff or other
Yeah, we
markets?
have some stuff in North Carolina, but we also just bought some stuff in Tucson, Arizona. We're working on getting 2 deals under contract in Dallas right now. So we're trying to do like we really focused in, the Tampa, Orlando area and bought everything we could in those areas. So we're really concentrated there. So we're going to do the same in Arizona and Texas too.
Okay, so very cool. So there is Derek's Instagram and LinkedIn page. So if you want to connect with him there, you can go follow him there. I know you just came out with a new Instagram, right? I'm sorry, I didn't put your Victory Capital in my notes, but if you want, you can put it in the private chat and I can share it in the chat section.
You can just share my personal one. I think it ends up connecting
Okay,
to
cool.
Victory Capital. Yeah.
But yeah, so I kind of, wanted to maybe focus initially on our topic. I did see an Alux video recently about do dumb people get richer, I believe was the actual name of the video. Did either of you get a chance to maybe take a peek at it or take a look at it?
Yeah, I did. I did.
Okay. Do you want to start with your GPA maybe in school or at first, or what did you think of the video?
Yeah, so the video was interesting. I think there's like, obviously those videos are designed to get clicks. I will say there's a difference between book smart and like common sense smart and like business smart. And I'll say that first. Then, in high school I probably had like a 3.0 to 3.5. In college it was probably 2.0 to 3.0. But I never tried in school. Like I never tried in high school. I would do homework in school. I never did any homework at home. Like never. Right. It was always in school. Like I barely made an effort and did okay. Right. Um, and there's definitely people that were like, you know, 4.0 plus even that I went to school with that, you know, they're not necessarily risk takers. You know, you got to have confidence to take risk. And some of these people are just like the people that are super, super book smart, right? Kind of focus on the wrong things, right? Or the intangibles that are there for entrepreneurs they may not necessarily have. It's not a bad thing, but on the other end of that, I think the video is missing some context because, you know, like some of these guys that go to Harvard and MIT, like they're billionaires. So like I think they're smart and they have that drive and the risk taking factors as well.
What about you, Emily? I don't know if you're willing to share your GPA or whatnot, but what did you think of the video? I know I think there was 15 reasons they said. Was there 15 things? Was there anyone that maybe may have stuck out with you?
Oh man, you know, I think part of it is, let me see. I'm looking at the list right now. There was one that did catch my eye. I think the number 2, just the confidence gets you in more rooms and expertise. I always and I don't care to share my GPA. It's 3 I was like 3.9 in high school and then college. I don't know, but it was close to it was under 4.0, but I went to grad school, so I got that fully funded. So I had to have I was a TA and all that. So I was close to a 3.9, 3.8. I don't know. But I was definitely one of those people who cared a lot about school. And I wasn't the smartest. Everything was really hard for me, but I put in a ton of effort. I went in every day after school to get extra help in my AP calculus class. There's no way I would have made it through there without the teacher that was willing to help the students that were going in. And so that stuff really mattered to me. And I don't think it matters in life. I think that unless you want to get into medical school or you want to get into a top tier law school or something where that GPA is really going to matter in that application process, when you get older and you look back on that pressure you put on yourself for things that just don't matter. I think for me, I worried so much because I knew I needed scholarships. And so I had to get scholarships and maintain scholarships to be able to do what I wanted to do education wise. But beyond that, I think sometimes, have you seen the quote that says there's people less qualified than you doing what you want to be doing right now, basically because they have the courage to go out and do it. And I think we've all met somebody who they're doing really well. Maybe they're high up in a business or maybe they're really successful. And you talk to them and you go, oh, this is surprising once you meet them or you're around them a little bit. And then, really smart people who they're not doing great. Maybe they're book smart, but they can't interact with people. They can't have those social conversations and people just don't want to be around them. So they don't want to work with them. And so I think just the confidence to be willing to go in a room. I think Richard Branson said, if you get an opportunity, just say yes and then figure it out later. And I think if you're so worried about being perfect and doing it right, sometimes you say no to things that you probably could have figured out. And then there's people in the room that are just willing to just figure it out. And I think there's a lot that comes from just being able to be willing to throw yourself into a tough situation and not too afraid or too embarrassed.
I see Jim, the grumpy contractor here. So if everyone can, there is his new YouTube channel that he just started. He's putting out some videos sharing his journey. So there is his new channel. Coach Nick, will be here tomorrow with me Saturday for our weekly Bitcoin wrap up. But he says 80% of millionaires have college degrees, 70% of billionaires. But the question is, what was their GPA, right? Would be more related to this video as far as like, does it require you to have a 4.0 going to college to become a millionaire, right? So I think that's so you could go to college and be like, in college, I think mine was like 2.6. I mean, high school was 3.8, but it was a lot easier to copy and cheat in high school, I think. So it's definitely so, but that fell on the list, right? To copy. I think it was number 6, but
we would have, Mark. I think we would have partied together, and
we would have did it in Crocs. We would have partied in Crocs.
Emily would have been the girl that at the beginning in the morning before the test, we'd have been like, hey, like, can we sit next to you and like
We knew she did her work, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But so you said so Emily says confidence, right? Confidence, right? Was the one you were talking about, right? So let's see. What room are you not in because you didn't think you belonged? Was there anywhere like confidence waved and you weren't in a certain room that maybe you felt you should have been in?
Yeah, I will tell you that I have two things I want to say here. And yes, I've been around like, bankers and like, mortgage brokers and guys that work for private equity companies. And I was around Grant Cardone the other weekend, and he was like, someone told him before he went to this big, what was it? The Milken Institute, where all like the big guys go. And some guy told him, was like, hey man, before you go to this thing with all these like supposedly high people, he's like, remember, these guys aren't any smarter than you because none of them have built a business. They're just basically like professional salespeople from like a private equity company. Like they're not as smart as you. So don't like, they've never built a business. And I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, because some of these guys, you're a glorified sales person, and you think you're all uppity and stuff, but you never built a business, which is very hard to do. And so I think of that now because I'm a country boy from the South. I grew up in a town of 2,000 people. Like I'm definitely not the smartest person, but I do think that I know how to do certain things, like build a company that not a lot of people can do successfully because it's hard. Like it's hard. And it's a pain in the ass, to be honest with you. I mean, you got to deal with staff, and I mean, there's just stuff, right? And the people that act smart aren't necessarily that smart, I guess is the point. And you guys are entrepreneurs. Like, not many people could figure out how to close deals like you do, Mark. I don't know. I looked at your profile a little bit, Emily, but you're definitely more handy than me. That's for sure. But like a lot of people don't know how to do this kind of stuff. So
Harrison Trade Better 99 says, growing up in Virginia, I thought the SOL standardized test interfered with actual education. And Gus says to cheat on homework and tests is a way of creative financing. See, Gus will be right with us, man. We'll all be copying off of Emily.
Well, and now all the kids, everyone's using AI. And it's funny because when we were young, I don't know if you ever heard a teacher say, well, you have to know how to do this because you're not always going to have a calculator with you. Well, guess what? I always have a calculator with me. I always have my phone. And so I think now more than they would have liked us to believe back then, it's more important to have critical thinking skills and be able to find information than it is to necessarily memorize and recite. Because I remember when I was younger, we'd have a fact. Oh, we don't know this. Is this correct? We had a stack of encyclopedias, right? Or you had to go look it up. Or once the first time, I can't remember what it was called. Was it Britannica? Once we had the online disc, not online, but it was discs of encyclopedias. Then I could use those for school that you had on your computer. But now you're in a group of people. You want a quick stat. You want a quick piece of information. Hold on, I can Google it real quick. And so critical thinking is much more important than memorizing information, or it's just so evolved than it used to be.
Hold on. Sorry. Somebody, one of my tenants was messaging me. I was trying to.
Uh-oh.
No. It's about the garage door. They wanted to see if there was a garage door opener. I guess they just moved in. That's why.
I could probably do a whole podcast and just like if I could like third party integrate it to our messaging, the messages that come in.
Oh yeah,
from the properties every day, and you see what some people ask and the stuff that you would you'd be like, you guys have probably seen it, but this is just like.
Oh, okay. So let's see, Emily. Was there another one that stuck out to you? I got one for myself. If you don't have one yet.
So I want to say something about what Derek just said.
Okay.
Just on the messages that come in, critical thinking skills. The questions that people give you on a property that are such basic things. I mean, I know for me, I don't want to bother somebody if I can figure it out myself. And so I'm going to try all these options, and then I'm going to reach out to my resource about how does this work? Do you know how many people have you sent an email and they say, I didn't get it. You didn't send it to me. And so you go check your sent, you make sure the email's right, you take a screenshot, you text it to them. Hey, did you check your junk mail? This is the first time I've emailed you. Did you check your spam? They didn't even check their spam before telling you that they didn't get the email. I had 6 people last week do that to me that knew I was sending them an email. I said it might come from an e-sign software. It might not come from mine. And then they're calling me because I didn't send them the email. They didn't even think. I would always check my junk mail first. And sometimes there's glitches, but same thing with renters, the things that people will ask you to, how do I do this? Or how do I make this work? And you go and it's a 2-second fix. And I think that critical thinking is so important, and a lot of people have lost that, and they're so dependent on having somebody to come and fix it for them. And so then they might be happier because they're not having to deal with their problems and other people are solving them for them, but it's really hard for them to progress because they don't have that basic thought process.
To that point, like you said, your phone, having a calculator with you all the time. Yeah, like with the access to your phone, even ChatGPT now or some sort of AI software. I mean, there's so many ways to get an answer or figure out how to do something. And like even Derek said, he was checking out maybe your page and stuff and was saying he's not as handy as you are. But even for doing that, a lot of times some of these work you can AI it, find a YouTube video. And that's why, like Jim is saying, oh, that's your channel, but Jim is saying that's why Emily has the DIY channel, so others can copy off her great work, right? So people get examples, see how they do things. But this is the YouTube channel, so if someone wants to go follow her DIY side. But definitely, yeah. I mean, is that also why you're putting that out there, Emily, to help people?
Well, for sure, because I was so lucky that when I started investing in real estate, so Derek, before I started investing in real estate, I worked for a family in town that owned mobile home parks. And so I started doing maintenance and renovations and repairs when I was in high school in mobile home parks.
Oh, wow.
And so I was lucky enough to work for a hands-on investor who I learned construction and all that type of stuff. And I thought, I would have never been able to get started because I didn't have money if I didn't have skills when I was first getting into real estate. And there's so many people that want to get into it that the only way they can do that first BRRRR or that first flip or that first rental property is if they're able to do a lot of that work themselves. And then secondarily, I had a lot of clients who would, maybe want to invest, and they'd say, well, if we could wall this off and make it a 3-bedroom. And I'm like, oh, it's really easy. You just do this. And they're like, what? And so I started making videos so I could say, okay, here's the link. Here's how you replace a garbage disposal, or here's here's the basics. And so that was kind of what it grew out of. And I'm just doing it anyway. So if I haven't already made a video of it, sometimes I'll do something. I'm like, yeah, I haven't made a video in 4 years, so I'll refresh it and make a new version. But yeah, I think a lot of people getting started in investing, they have to be able to do some of it themselves to be able to afford it.
Yeah, and I'll say the first mobile home park that I got into, I was maybe I've talked about this on here at some point, Mark, but I was in the insurance business. I had I had gotten killed in the insurance business for 3 years, cold calling, commission only, making no money, and finally got it going and built up my team. And then the first deal I got, I basically got a call from a guy I had been networking with and was like, hey, I have this deal. My operating partner backed out the last minute. We're closing in a week. Do you want in? I'm like, yeah, sure. Right. But I had to go in and basically be the property manager. So I got cursed at and threatened, all the fun stuff that comes from that. But, to what, Emily was saying, like I had skills and like that I had built up in the insurance business and like to lead something. And just, knowing that I would make it go right. And I think in that video, it says something that like the successful, wealthy people, like they have this like almost delusional, like, hey, it's going to work out. I knew I was going to make it go right. Like I just like whatever happened, like you just kind of persist through it and figure it out. But, like some people would have been like, I don't want to do it. The park was nasty. Like if you looked at this park, you'd be like, yeah, ooh, it was a rough one. But, you just do it and figure it out. And some people don't have like the whatever to do that. And that was the catalyst to me, growing our portfolio from that one little park, because I decided to like, hey, I'm going to go and figure this out.
Flavio is saying, Emily, they will find it faster if you send them to a TikTok chat. People spend their time on TikTok chat instead of email.
Oh man, I'm trying to figure out TikTok. I've just started reposting my stuff on Instagram because I feel like I'm probably missing the boat. So I'm putting that on TikTok too, but I don't know how to follow people. I don't know how to message people. I think there's things you can do on there that I don't know how to do. I mean, that was just younger than me. And so to figure it out, I know I need to, but like you just said TikTok chat. I didn't even know there was a chat in TikTok.
Yeah, I haven't figured out TikTok yet. Is a lot of your stuff on there, Derek, or no?
Yeah, we post on there, but like I never get on there because I don't know, maybe if it's if I've gotten on there and it's like so doom and gloom that the world's ending, like on everything that I've seen, right, on the TikTok videos, and maybe that's just they're catching up on my conspiratorial nature and bringing that stuff in.
Hey, not yet. We're not ready for that yet.
But I don't spend a lot of time on TikTok. We post everywhere, but I have heard that TikTok ads work well, and it's a better bang for your buck than Facebook. But I don't know. We haven't tested that yet. So,
well, but if you do want to connect with Derek, there's his Instagram and LinkedIn pages, so you can follow him, connect with him there. And there's Emily's YouTube channel and Emily's Instagram page. But yeah, I think a lot of it, and I think the title of the video was really clickbait, right? Like that, do dumb people get richer? But it's a lot of things that I feel it's just like you just got to push through. You don't know any better, right? So I don't know if it's being dumb. It's just you don't really know any better. You just want to get to a certain place, and you just keep doing the work a lot of times. So like let's see. I think the one for me was like number 7. They don't micromanage. Would you guys agree with that one? That was one. So I see Emily smiling because I know this one was kind of, she'd probably be not so sure about it. So it says why it matters, not knowing how forces delegation. What's you guys' thoughts on that one? They don't micromanage though.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree with that one. I definitely micromanage, but like I would say it's micromanaging like I know how to do the thing, right? That's the thing. I know how to do the thing, so I can look at it and be like, "You're not doing this right. Like this is not company policy. Like this is off policy." Like boom. And if I didn't know that, then how am I going to enforce company policy on something I didn't even know? So I think I mean, I definitely on stuff that needs to get done, I definitely micromanage it until I know it's being done correctly. Um, and then I kind of let off a little bit. So, I think there's a, in that particular point, it's a little like most of these wealthy guys, like they micromanage. They definitely micromanage.
And I think if you have somebody on your team who you've hired or is a partner or whatever that's really qualified to do what they do, then that's different. You found somebody who really knows what they're doing, and they're, people always say find someone to do something better than you. But until you find that person, which a lot of us, you have to hire a lot of people, you have to go through a lot. It's hard to find those people. You have to be on top of it, because one thing I thought when I started renovating houses, well, when I started, I did everything myself. When I got to the point where I started subbing pieces out, I thought, well, I don't want to offend the electrician by micromanaging him. And I would think he would know the best way to do the lighting layout, or I would think the plumber knows the best way. And then I found like they don't necessarily think like me for the way I want it, or they're going to cut every corner they can to do it the easiest way. And so I have to say, I want this exactly right here. Like funny, weird example. I'm renovating a house. I told the electrician I wanted the way I wanted the lighting layout. And this, we actually had a conversation. And you know how when you have recessed can lighting, sometimes you'll have 4 lights in a room, 6 lights in a room. And if you have a chandelier in a bedroom, your dining room, you usually have one in the middle of the room. I walk in And the guy puts 3 can lights in a line down a bedroom, not like in a hallway, not in a galley kitchen. There's a line. Is the weirdest thing I've ever, like, design wise, I've never seen anything like that. I could have seen 4. I could have seen, 4 and then a chandelier in the middle on separate switches. I mean, is the weirdest thing. And I had told him to do something different anyway, but his brain told him, he was like, I just thought that was the best way to do it. And I've never in my life seen that in a house. I have no idea why you would think that would be the way to do it. So then it was plaster, not drywall. We had to patch these holes in plaster. And it's not that much, but it's extra time. It's extra money. Then we had to texture the ceiling to match and so it was all this extra time in all these bedrooms because somebody thought a different way was better. So you can't. Sometimes you let it go and go, oh, this is okay, we can live with it. And sometimes it's like, this is really weird. And so you can't assume that somebody, just because they're an expert in an area, is going to do it the right way. Or so now I, with a Sharpie, draw everything on the walls, even if I've told them and they're writing it down and I think they have it, everything is marked with a Sharpie where it needs to go. Same with like where a light switch should go. You walk in a room, if you reach to this side of the door, the switch should be there. If you have to open the door and reach behind it, it would be common sense not to do that. But people do dumb stuff like that. So you gotta be on top of it till this person is doing it the right way that's like logical.
Yep. Especially contractors, because the problem I found with contractors is that they have the you just have opposite goals and purposes. They wanna like make the most money on the deal. You want to pay the least amount, and you want it to be done at a high level, right? So it's just opposite. And you have to micromanage those guys like so bad. Like, even when you think they're doing something right, I found that's when like they start to get a little lax and you have to, get back in on these guys. So it's very frustrating.
Here is Brady Morgan's YouTube channel. Also, he did send me a copy of his book. I've got through some of it, Brady. I'll try to finish it up soon. But Brady does say, where did he put? Most people wouldn't guess that I was an investor first and became a builder. I literally knew nothing about construction 7 years ago. Anyone can learn anything. It is a matter of effort and focus.
Yep.
Let's see. What was another one that I like this one? I don't know if it really applies to it, but this one was where was it? Number 6. They said they're fun and likable. I don't know if they're trying to say is dumb people more fun and likable, but that was one of the reasons they said. So let's say it says it kind of gave a scenario. Investors get invited into deals because of vibe, not spreadsheets. You think that plays a role? Like people just have this feel of success around them, or they kind of belief or confidence, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, there's people that you're around that you can tell, like, if they don't communicate well, like there's just something off in their communication. Like, I don't know, you know what I'm talking about. You're like, well, that doesn't make sense. Like, you notice this stuff, and I can definitely perceive this stuff pretty well. And yeah, like if you don't feel good around the person, like you got to trust your perceptions and not try to make sense of it, because I've done that and the person's end up being a bad person. I'm like, oh yeah, well, they're just blah, blah, blah. If you have to do that with somebody that you're in business with, it's going to come out sooner or later that that person is probably not so good or whatnot. They're lazy. I don't know what it is, but that plays a big role in it, I believe.
I also think that people pick who they enjoy being around. I've noticed this. I'm going to be vague in case someone in my town listens to this. There's an area of business that we refer a lot of people to in real estate. And there are a couple people that are actually really not great at their job, but they're really effervescent. They're really dynamic and personable. And so there will be one that you refer, that is really good at their job. And then they call and talk to them and they don't come across quite that way. They're good at their job. They know what they're doing. They're honest, but they're not as friendly and bubbly and ha ha ha, And so people a lot of times will pick this other business that's harder to work with, that's not as responsive. because they're friendlier and bubblier. And so at the end of the deal, it's harder for us as the realtor. It's harder for the client. They get through the transaction. They're usually not happy at the end. But at the beginning, they were friendlier, they were bubblier. And so they pick that person. And that's something I've had to learn in real estate, because before I was a real estate broker, I was an investor and I was a contractor. And so I knew houses, I knew real estate, but I didn't have the interpersonal skills. And so I could give them all the facts and data, but I probably wasn't fun to look at houses with. And so I've really had to work on being more talkative and interactive, and because I can give you all the stats on the house, but if you look at 40 houses, hopefully not, and I'm not fun to be around, you're going to pick the person that's fun to be around that doesn't know as much, and it wasn't serving me necessarily to be the expert. And so that's hard too. People are not always looking for the most qualified person. It's who do I want to spend time with as I get through this process, or who do I want to spend 8 or 12 hours a day with when I go to work? I don't want to sit by that person in a desk for 12 hours. I can't stand being around them. You're not going to pick them.
True.
I want to share a message. Flavio just texted me. He said, Emily can't use such big words.
I know. I had to look it up. I already looked it up what efflorescent mean. I got a new word today. So
Flavio message. He said, yeah, Emily, he said, I can't follow along.
Sorry.
He was going to say something before I'm just giving you a hard time, Emily. You know, I'll tell you guys something, right? This is something that will be worth your weight in gold. Because I looked up the definition of this word. So if I get something that I don't understand, I just don't say fuck it and I'm going to figure it out later. I look it up and find out what it is. So now I'm going to know what that word is from now on. And this is how I get smarter every day, by the way, because I got a long way to go coming from where I came from. I got to catch up somehow.
Well, you know, to that point, and Zuber touches on it quite a bit too, about how your phone, right? It can be used for, like you're saying, look up words, find information,
Calculator.
or calculator,
Mortgage
or
calculator.
you can be scrolling TikTok or, you know, social. I mean, I'm bad at that too, but I'm saying you have so much. The way you use it, right, can determine like what kind of results you get, right? But Flavio is asking though, Emily, what I do with plaster walls to not make a mess? Get sheetrock on it.
Yeah. And so I think it depends sometimes on projects. If I'm doing a full gut, we'll just pull everything, but it's a lot of work to get all that lath and plaster off of there and haul that away. That stuff is heavy. Some people just put sheetrock over the plaster. But sometimes when you think about the extra time and then you're going to have to pull trim and casing, and then your doors are wider and you got to trim them out different. Sometimes it's a more minimal project where you're hoping to not have to do that. But I do, that makes sense a lot of times, but sometimes it's just not as extensive as a project.
Derek, is there any other ones that you may have want to discuss of the dumb people get richer possibly, or do
Let
dumb
me
people?
see. Let me pull it back up here. I feel like there was something I wanted to say a second ago, but I think I said it about the let me see here.
I like.
I
go
mean, this one, you know, number 8 and number 9, I'll touch on those.
Mhm.
They don't care about what you think.
Yep.
That's like yeah, that's a huge one. And I'll tell you, I had to get over that. I used to care like a lot about what people thought of me, like stupidly.
I wear Crocs, man. I mean, I don't care.
Yeah, I know you don't give a damn, Mark. I still haven't gotten a pair of Crocs. But yeah, I think that's one. And then hold on. I think they never overanalyze and they move faster. Just like when I got my first mobile home park, I said, yep, I'll do it. Had never managed a mobile home park before. Had never bought a real estate deal before. Had never done anything but look at real estate before. And I just said, yeah, I'll do it. Right. So I think that's a like a genius type trait that people have to do that, because a lot of, even when you're doing real estate and these deals, it's like there's so much figuring it out. Like, I know people that have been in my mobile home park group on Facebook. They've watched my podcast for years. They have asked me every fucking question in the book. Like, how are you going to fix if the water line breaks on Saturday? I'm like, dude, you don't even have a park yet. Like, who cares? Right? Who cares? Right. And so, but they don't take action, right? Because they're thinking like, okay, what if the appraisal doesn't come in? I'm like, what if it doesn't? Like, you just work around that, right? What if I can't, if the bank won't let me guarantee the loan, or like whatever it is, right? You just think about these things, and you just kind of got to say F it and go ahead. And, I even still practice this. I think the last time I was on your show, Mark, I was like, hey, I'm going to do a fund, a $20 million fund. Have no idea how I'm going to do it. Don't really know how it works. I've done syndications before, and we're about to close the fund now. We've got 6 deals closed in the fund, 2 more to close next week, and we're close to closing it. And so it was the same thing. Like, yeah, okay. I could have been like, well, how is this going to work with the attorney and the SEC and all that BS? And been like, well, I'm not going to do it because I don't know how to do that. But instead, I made the target of doing it and went and did it and figured it out. Was it easy? No. I mean, there's just stuff that we had to sort of work through. But I think that's a superpower for sure.
Absolutely. I think we all see people, and if you're in a real estate investing circle at all, online or in person, that have been around for years and years, or you have clients that have been around for years and years. Oh, I want to get into it. And 7 years later, 8 years later, 9 years later, still talking about it. And Brandon Turner says this a lot on his podcast, but I think he said somebody else said it first, but it's more important that you decide than what you decide. And like when I'm renovating a house, I'm often thinking, what's the best finish? What's the best this? And I go, doesn't matter. They're both fine. I just have to pick one, because I used to wait days to pick it, maybe a different tile, maybe a different floor. I don't quite like that one. And you got to pick one and put it in, because the time you're losing, I know that's just a construction reference because that's what I do the most, but how many deals do you miss out on because you take too long to analyze, or you're waiting for the most perfect deal? Meanwhile, the market's going up and things are getting worse. It doesn't matter if it's a yes or a no, but you just need to get used to just not dwelling.
Yeah. Cause that's one thing. That's like, you're stuck in a maybe, like, should I or should I not? Like, your attention is stuck there. So it's not free. You make those decisions and it starts freeing up that. And if you make a decision and, screw up, like, okay, let's fix it, turn around and go forward, versus, the guy who sat there and hasn't done anything. But boy, do they know all they know about real estate and flipping and mobile home parks and seller financing. Oh, really? How many deals do you have? Like, they're quick to tell me that I did something wrong.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe I said that was stupid on the podcast. That was dumb what I said. But
Yeah.
I have deals, man.
No. Yeah, people don't get it too. Like when we do this live, right? Sometimes people, like Emily, every time I put her reels or shorts out on Instagram, people are commenting or pushing back. And it's just like, we're doing this live, you're trying to answer questions and you're only getting a portion of it and you're only seeing a small clip of it. And then they're making all these comments, like, oh no, this she doesn't know what she's talking about or something like that, right? But they don't realize, like, we're doing our best, we're answering questions, and it's whatever. We don't have the time to do full research sometimes when we're doing it live.
And also, meanwhile, that person has never renovated a property. That person has no rental properties. That person has never done a flip. That person is not, all the things that they have so much advice on. I'll have people talk mad crap about an electrical concept. And I'm like, oh, are you an electrician? Because this is what the licensed electrician did and the city approved and it's perfectly fine. But, oh no, I'm not an electrician, but I just think, yeah, no, you don't, because the master electrician did it this way, jackass.
I guess it worked. I tried to do it while we were talking, but that looks like it's an Amazon link for Brady's book that he said that is on Amazon. So there's his book that just came out, Never Sell. But Stan is saying dumb is a relative term. I think the term dumb is too often used on someone who didn't obtain a formal advanced education, even if they are amazingly well trained in other skill sets. Yep, totally agree.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
The grumpy contractor says, I would I will only do the remodel or rehab if I can remove all of the plaster every time I have it. And it's cost way more in the end.
I think it depends on what type of project you're doing, because there's a lot of people doing lipstick flips, which I'm generally not, because I wish I could find those for the prices I need to. But yeah, I think it really depends on what type of projects you're taking on.
Stan also says, "What if X happens? Is a bad mindset. If it happen, oh shoot, if it happens, deal with it. Then problems will always come up. Find solutions as they come." Yep. I think I posted something like that on Instagram. I forgot exactly what it was. It was life doesn't get easier, or you just have to get better at dealing with hard, or something like that, something to that effect, right? It's never going to get easier. You just have to get better at when it's hard, and then I mean, then it does get easier in a sense, but life itself doesn't technically get easier.
Yeah, you're always going to want to level up. I mean, I guess it just depends on what kind of personality you have. So you're doing $1 million deal where now I want to do a 5, and now I want to do a 10, and now I want to do a 50, and then I want to do a 200. Like, it's going to be a pain in the ass probably each time that you go up, because there's going to be different stuff.
Well, to that, number 12 was they fail upward. So that was kind of along the lines of what you're saying, right? Failure becomes a leverage, it's saying. So are you avoiding failure, or are you avoiding growth? What do you think, Emily? You think people are just kind of afraid of growing or comfortable?
You got to take micro fears. So I'm never advising somebody to do something that they're not qualified to do, because for all the success stories we hear, there's people that went too far, too fast, were super unqualified and lost everything. There's the horror stories. And so I feel like you have to, which I'm more risk adverse than I probably need to be. And there's people that have a little bit more courage and have grown quicker. But you also got to look at, people will always say, oh, if you invested in this stock this year, then you'd have this much, or if you bought these properties here. Well, for all of those stories, there's also stocks that went to zero and companies that crashed and people that lost everything. So you gotta do some due diligence as well. But I do think that I think you might have posted this and I reshared it maybe a month ago, but bite off more than you can chew and figure out how to chew it. But to an extent, there's always know yourself, know what you're capable of. But yeah, you do have to take these micro things that maybe you wouldn't have done last year, you're going to do this year, and go a little harder, a little bit harder. But if you've never bought a property before, don't go get I don't know. There's just a point where it's too risky, but you got to be educated about it. But yeah, do something hard. And it's probably scary because you've never done it, but it doesn't mean you're not qualified and you can't figure it out.
Absolutely. And if you're younger, I definitely agree. Push it a little bit more, because you are just like your body, right? It's just way more resilient, right? So you're able to push to the limits a little bit more, and you recover, or it's easier to recover from maybe an injury or what. I mean, you don't want to get hurt, but if you do get hurt, it's definitely easier to recover at a younger age.
Yeah, if you're 19 and you're living with a roommate and you're renting a house, that's a lot different than I'm 40, I have 5 kids depending on me, and I'm just going to risk it all and I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, there's a level of measure depending on, I think, where you're at and who's depending on you too.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, to a degree, and but the entrepreneurs, guys, they're going to be like, I'm trying to hit freaking home runs. I'm trying to hit home runs, and I'm very risk adverse, but not if I know what I'm doing. If I know it, okay, let's roll. We'll figure it out. But I'm not gonna go start a Bitcoin hedge fund, a crypto hedge fund. I don't fucking know anything about that, right? But if I'm hey, we're gonna 10x the fund that we just did. My God, how the hell are we gonna do that? I'm gonna be talking to these freaking Wall Street crazies to do that, right? But yeah, so it's at some point, I think there's taking risk is still a good thing if you know what you're doing.
But yeah, and I think I'm mentioning more. There's so many stories just in my life of people I've been adjacent to. I'm gonna quit my job and invest in this weird random scheme,
Yeah, that's dumb.
pyramid schemes, and it's people that are not educated. They don't know, something seems too good to be true, and it is, and they quit a good steady job. First of all, you usually can start what you're doing while keeping your job, at least, so you have that buffer, and then transition. I just think some people go all in, and it's a personality type. There's people that I watch that I've known for many years. They do it over and over again. First it's this, then it's this. And every time they're just losing and kind of digging themselves out of a hole a little bit. And it's going to be this next thing. It's going to be this next thing. And it never is. And they don't understand what they're doing. That's kind of the person I'm referring to. If you know what you're doing, if you know mobile home parks and you have a system and you're going to do something a little more risky than what you did before, that's a very different situation than I'm going to go do something crazy I know nothing about and give up every income source, pull my retirement, everything.
Yeah. Like I'm going to go start, I'm thinking about starting like a daycare fund in the state of Minnesota.
I knew it was coming.
You know, you guys want to go into business? You guys want to go into business with me?
Yeah. That's what we talked. Who were we talking about? I forgot who I was with. They were talking about that. Man, I forget. I think they were selling something, and Lauren on Wednesday, the other week, I think she was selling a property and she needed someplace to put the funds, and we were selling. Oh no, she's doing a boutique hotel. That's why. And they're like, why don't you just put a daycare up or something? But
Aaron graduated. He put that on his Instagram. He had graduated from a Leering Center recently.
Oh wow. Yes, yeah, Aaron. He as soon as I wake up, the first thing I see is him stirring the pot over on Facebook. Today it's Greenland. He had something on Greenland he posted there. But I did put the YouTube link to the ALUX video. So if anyone does want to go check it out and see what we're talking about how you had some reasons why maybe dumb people get richer. But this one, I'm sure this one probably relates to you, Emily, quite a bit. Jim, the grumpy contractor, saying too many inspectors take their course and their test and think they know it all. Oh, I see, Emily.
Oh,
am I triggering you on this one?
This could be a whole episode. I have literally had times where I had to pay. So as a real estate broker in a transaction, I'm maybe the seller's agent or maybe the buyer's agent, but they feel like once an inspector fearmongers somebody, they're horrified and they just have so much trust in these home inspectors. And sometimes the home inspector is completely wrong. I have had, for a good example was, we used to have these GFI on the outlet, and now a lot of times they're just doing GFI breakers. And so the outlet does not have the test reset on it. And so when they started using those, a lot of the inspectors were saying this isn't GFI, and they weren't educated enough and informed because they're not electricians to know the whole breaker is on a GFI. It's not on the outlet. And so there were times where that's a specific example, but there were things that were wrong where I would say this isn't right, but I'm the realtor and nobody wants to listen to me. And so I would have to pay an electrician to go like $150, $200 to write something up to say that, no, this is fine. The home inspector was wrong, to ease the fears and make the buyer client comfortable because they're trying to get it switched out. And it's like, no, you're not going to put the receptacle when you have the breaker. Just things like that. Some states, they're not even required to be licensed. In Wyoming, they're not. So you don't have to be licensed. You do not have to be insured to be a home inspector. And so many states you do, but they know a little bit about a lot of things, and most of them are not an expert in anything. And so they also are not very good at explaining to buyers that every house has something. Every house has stuff, even new construction houses. There's things that are going to happen. And so you have to point everything out, but you also, I think, have to let people know what's reasonable for the area. Like in Wyoming, we have a lot of freeze and thaw. Everyone's driveway cracks. Eventually there's crack. I mean, now if they're disjointed and shifted, that's different, but everything just cracks around here. New construction, if you pulled up that carpet on the slab in the basement, that would have cracks in it. And it's not a problem. It's just our climate. But if you don't explain that to your client and they're terrified of it because they came from a different climate that doesn't have that type of soils, it's just, yeah, I could go on forever. I'll stop now, but yeah.
I need Emily to come run all of our projects that we have going on, because you don't F around. I don't think it doesn't sound like you do. You would be good at that.
Flavio is saying, Jim, like Cody said, never overdo properties. Most of the millionaire landlords that I know, they do basic stuff. But that's a little bit different, I think. Like for you, Emily, you're not always putting it as a rental, right? Yours are a little more flips, right?
Yes, comma, I'm overdoing my properties. That's something.
But you enjoy it too, though, right? Like you.
Yeah, but I'd enjoy more making more money.
Okay, that's fair. Fair enough.
So I'm learning that. I think it's hard when you're a contractor and then you are investing in real estate. But I did get to a point where I realized if I'm doing the finished quality of, in our area, 500 and up is a pretty expensive house. If I'm doing the finished quality of a $500,000 house and I'm going to sell it for 240, that's stupid. There is no reason. And I'm not saying cut corners, but I used to do things like I want one floor with no transitions anywhere. So even if I had hardwood I could save, I was going to level up the whole floor and do a new floor everywhere. This one I'm working on now, there's hardwoods we can refinish everywhere, but not in the kitchen because they had vinyl in there. And so there's going to be a floor change and I have LVP in the kitchen and we're refinishing the hardwoods everywhere else. This is going to be an under $300,000 house. There was no reason for me not to do it that way, but old Emily would have. And so I think that's just learning at the end of the day. I want to make more money. I don't have to overdo these projects. Now, if I'm doing a $500,000 house, I'm going to do that. But for the $300,000 house, I need to not be acting that way on my projects.
Yeah, one of the biggest mistakes I see that guys who buy mobile home parks that have never bought a mobile home park before, they own the units. Ultimately, you don't want to own the units. You just want to be pad rental. But they go in and they make these homes like they spend, $30 grand. They have tile floors in these mobile homes. Like they just make it like they're nice, right? But like that's just not understanding the clientele. Like they're like, oh my God, the house got torn up. Or like, it's just not smart to do that. But you have to know like what you're doing. Like if you're, like Emily said, if you're buying and doing that to a higher level house, yeah, I could see that. I could see making it like as nice as you can make it and doing high quality work. But you don't have to do that. Yeah, especially in our business. Like it's not like these places are we buy affordable housing. It's never going to be the Ritz-Carlton. Like it's just not, right? But it can be clean and it can be safe and it's affordable. We're not going to put like this big, we're not going to pay $1 million for some like landscape architectural sign with a waterfall. Like we're just not going to do that. And I've seen guys do that. It's just not smart. Not a good use of funds.
And people really don't understand mobile homes, especially people that buy them on a rented space. I have so many people come to me as a real estate broker where they have a mobile home on a rented lot. So they're just selling the mobile home. They don't understand how weird financing is. They don't understand how they depreciate and they don't appreciate like a home does. And so it doesn't, even if you do an appraisal for, there's a couple lenders that will do mobile homes on rented lots with a higher interest rate, shorter term, all of that for, to people that are going to occupy them. And I'm sure you run into this all the time. Some people make these mobile homes like manufactured home Mahal, like the Taj Mahal.
For sure.
It's crazy. And it's like, there's only going to be a certain level if it's financeable, even with some of these weird traditional financing pieces, and no buyer is going to pay for that. And people really back themselves into a corner if they think, oh, I bought my home, it's paid off, they're still paying lot rent, and they've super over improved. Sometimes it's wild, some of the stuff.
Yeah. And I'll say like that actually like isn't true in Tampa. Because the people put money into their homes and they sell them for more. It's the wildest thing I've ever seen.
So you have the market for that there.
Yeah. Like it depends on the market because there's other markets where absolutely it's not going to happen. But depending on the market, it's actually kind of crazy that Tampa, we see this happen. Orlando, really any of the Florida markets, the Space Coast. This happens and people go in and put money in their homes and then they sell them and it'll be like a 1979 trailer that they redid
on a rented lot. Wow.
Yeah, it's wild.
And that's why you got to know your market, right? That would never here. No, you're wasting so much money. And so you got to know where you're investing because that might make sense there. You could be flipping mobile homes on rented lots potentially, whereas here, good luck.
People do that. There's guys like if we have homes that need to be rehabbed, like we'll sell them to guys that come in and do that and then sell them. So we don't have to
Wow.
spend the money on rehabbing them. It's a big thing in Florida.
Very
People do it all the time. Yeah.
Gus, who is finally getting his YouTube channel started. So there is also Gus's link, and him and Emily just did something recently too. So go check them out over there. I think it came out this morning.
He's found some good guests for us, so we got some stuff lined up.
So he says, when I'm on the seller side, I hate inspectors, but on the buying side, maybe even for me, buying they help.
For sure. It's so funny. Like I've always been on the buying side until like, we're looking at selling some stuff now. And I always get so pissed. Like, I'm like, dude, you cannot count the rent for the home you haven't filled up yet. Like it's vacant. Right. And then here I am, I'm sending the guy the rent roll and I'm like, well, this one's going to be, leased up by the time we close and this one. So we need to count this income. I'm like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah, it's very different seller buyer side.
Stan
is saying Tampa. I was in nearby Sarasota late last month. But yeah, maybe like I said, I did put the link to the Alux video, so if people want to go check it out and kind of get their own opinions on it. But I also want to kind of touch a little bit on, since I don't really have too many mobile home park investors on that often. And, Emily, we've talked about kind of maybe what Trump's policies are, maybe to help with the housing market, midterms coming up. But is any of this type of noise out there impact like mobile homes in any way to some extent?
Which noise?
Well, just as far as, talking about banning institutional investors, buying mortgage-backed securities, trying to lower interest rates, capping credit card interest rates at 10%. So these type of things that he's kind of gearing and trying to help affordability for maybe single-family homes. But does this in any way like mobile home parks?
Well, I mean, if rates go down, yes, it helps if we start buying now, because as soon as the sellers figure out that rates are going down, the cap rates are just going to compress, get lower, and prices are going to go up. Right. So from a buying perspective, yeah, I mean, I like it because it's puts more certainty in the market. But again, sellers are going to be more stiff on price. As far as like the credit card thing and institutions buying homes, like honestly, I think institutions don't own that big of a percentage of single family homes anyways. Like Blackstone doesn't necessarily they're not going to go buy one house. They want to go buy Mark and Emily's portfolio of 6,000 houses or 10,000 houses, right? They're not just buying one home. So I think it's, a lot of this shit where they blame the rich for everything. It's like, it's just a good media talking point because unfortunately most people are not wealthy, and it gets everybody all like, ooh, let's get mad, right? It's their fault. I don't want to take responsibility anymore. Here's someone I can blame, right? And so it's a lot of that. And I mean, I like Trump. There's stuff he does that I don't like, but I think that's just kind of it's a talking point to make everybody feel good. I don't know how much effect that would actually have, like on a company like Blackstone or Apollo or somebody like that. But our business really, it like skates above some of this economic uncertainty because it's the cheapest place in town, and people always want to live in the cheapest place in town, and they're scarce. They're not building anymore. If they're building some, they're in the middle of nowhere. Right? You can't build one in Tampa. You can't build one in Orlando. You can't build one in Tucson or Phoenix, Dallas, wherever. You can't build it. So it's scarce, right? And you might be able to find, and we have $1,000 lot rents in those areas. I know that sounds crazy, right? But apartment rents $2,300, right? So it's way cheaper. You might be able to find another apartment in another place, but you're going to be in the hood, and you better carry like Mark does if you're living there. And
Flavio is going to make a comment pretty soon about a bulletproof vest or something.
Yeah, or something, man. You're going to need something. But yeah, I think you know, with the big beautiful bill obviously helps us with bonus depreciation. Like I just looked at one of our cost seg reports. Do you guys do cost segs on your stuff?
I have not, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think I know a lot of people are they're glad that it's back. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is why this is great. So we bought this park for about 3.1 million. We put 30% down. What's that? 900 grand, 930 grand. And I just got our cost seg report back. We can take like $2 million of bonus depreciation in year one. We only put down 900. That's crazy.
Yep.
That's nuts.
Yep.
And now look, it's a tax deferral. We'll have to recapture that depreciation when we sell it. But you know, I can still multiply money faster if I have it, you know, tax free now.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's a big help.
But you're cheating. People would say you're cheating and you're right. So that's part of the issue, right? A lot of people, and you know, like the going back to the original topic, you know, talking about dumb people get richer. But just to that point, there is people out there that aren't paying attention. And I'm not saying that they're dumb. They're just not aware like how the system is being used, and people are taking advantage of these things and using the tax code out there, right? So there is people that maybe ignorant is the right word instead of dumb, right? They're thinking someone's cheating or these doing things illegal, but yet it's all there in the tax code, right? So people are using it to their benefit. So yeah, so just, you know, I don't want to say dumb, but there's people that just think someone else is doing something illegal in a sense, right?
Yeah, they're playing a different game. Sorry, Emily,
No,
you can go ahead.
no,
I
no.
was just saying, it's a different game. Like I used to work and I was an employee in my early 20s. It's a totally different game. Like I go back to Virginia, my hometown, love everybody there, but the conversations that are going on versus the conversations I have with my friends down here are business owners, real estate guys, like super successful guys. It's just it's a different side of the world, right? It's a different world that is not viewed from like, you know, middle class or the employee, you know, type of mentality. Like it's just completely different. And yeah, the people think that you're cheating. But one other point I wanted to make too is that I watched this thing on YouTube the other night. It was about this this German developer, probably worth a couple $100 million. And they were interviewing him, and they were interviewing like his security guard that worked at his buildings, and like his like some people that work in the clerical like office. And the interviewers were asking the people that worked in his office, like, hey, how do you feel about Mr. I forget his name? Like, you know, he has a private jet, like he has a pool, he's got a whatever house. Like, how do you feel about that? And they're like, yeah, like, you know, it's good for him. Like, I don't think it's unfair because I would not want to be in his position because I don't want the responsibility that he has. And so I thought that was an interesting point. Like, some people realize, like, dude, that's a lot of responsibility. I don't want to do that. But the people, that's like an intelligent person looking at it. But a dumbass would be like, oh, they're cheating. Like, dude, you would not want to go through some of the shit that I've had to go through, like in this last year, like needing $1.5 million the day before closing, or you lose a few $100,000. Like, that's not fun, right? That sucks, right? And most people wouldn't want to deal with that, right? So, anyways, I'll get off my soapbox here.
No, it's just like you said before that people that are in a certain position, people that are really struggling, a lot of people, some people will look to examples, mentors, people that are doing well and say, I want to do this. And now with social media, so many people are showing you the way. And this is how I did it. They're not hiding anything. There's no secrets. And they can put all that information out there because no one's going to actually do it. They can tell you exactly what they did, and no one's going to be willing to put in the work. And a lot of people just want to say, oh, well, nice for them, whatever. And then you have the other people who are willing to put in the work. The tax options, the tax benefits, the tax code is available to everybody. It's not like it only applies to you and you're the only person. Now, that wouldn't be fair if only you got to use it, but it didn't apply to everybody else. Anybody else can use it. They don't want to live the life. They don't want to put in the work. They don't want to do the effort to learn and take advantage of it. So as long as the same opportunities are available for everybody, it's up to us to take them or not. And people want different lives. And so, but people that are stuck and want to stay stuck love to blame somebody else for the position they've chose to let them, not that maybe they started in, the position they've allowed and chose to stay in.
Yeah, couldn't agree with that more.
Gus is saying, get rich so you can make more money for being rich. He says, I
That's
love
true.
it.
That's, I mean, the system, fortunately or unfortunately, favors doers. I mean, it is what it is. Like, it's never going to be. I mean, I don't know what people's definition of fair would be, because, I came from a small town. I freaking cold called and it sucked. Like, I had to figure out how to, had $5 on a credit card and $4 on a debit card. And I had to put a little bit of gas in my Trailblazer with a dent in it so I could go cold call and try to pay rent on Friday. So look, anybody can do it, right? And I've been through it and it sucks, but you can pull yourself out of it if you want to.
So Brady said we're gonna have Emily's next controversial short featuring Emily. So we'll see if that actually happens.
I just need to lean into it and be a villain and just make that my persona and just be like, you know what? Everyone can hate me. I don't care.
Yeah, let's do some controversial shorts. I'm down. People, we can get hated on together.
So
Mark just lets everybody else be controversial, and he just kind of sits there.
Yeah, he's just chilling, and then everybody's like, "This dumb bitch."
And I should just keep poking at it. She doesn't know what she's talking about.
Mark's views.
This will be a controversial one. This is so to fair. I think that this is something I pay attention to. My husband used to be in the Army, and so when they started to open things up more for females to have options to be in some of the more, I guess, to try out for some of the more frontline type of stuff, more infantry type stuff. And I'm going to speak ignorantly about this because this is from a second party, but I feel, and my husband used to be a state trooper too. My husband, there is no way I could carry that man. He's 6'2", 6'3". He's pretty bulky. If he got shot, I'm 120 pounds. I'm 5'10". I could not drag him out of a situation if he was hurt. And so when for PT tests for the military and for law enforcement, women and men have different standards. And I get that women and men can do different things physically. Do I care if you are an officer in an office as a female, if you have a different physical standard? No. Maybe you're good at intelligence. Maybe you're really good at analyzing. But if my husband is in infantry and he's in the front line and he gets shot, and you had a lower physical standard, and you, Mark, as a firefighter, same thing probably, and someone can't carry you out of there because their standard was not the same, they're saying it's fair because physically women and men are different, right? My strength level to my cousin who's skinny like me but is way stronger than me is different. He can carry more than I can carry. He just can. Even when we were the same height, the same weight when we were kids, he could carry more weight than I could carry. And so I don't think it's fair that my husband's going to get shot and left somewhere because someone had a lower standard and they can't drag him to safety. But he could easily throw someone over his shoulder and get them out of there. And so I think you should have the same opportunity because there are females that could carry him, that are strong enough, that are bulkier, that have the strength, but there's some that can't. And I don't think that his life should be at risk because somebody has a lower standard. If you can meet the standard, the same standard, then you can be there. But if you can't meet the same standard and it has to be eased for you, I don't think that is fair to the other people that you can't save.
All right. Have a good weekend, everyone. We're signing off right now and we'll wrap it up now. No, but let's see. Brady says, love it, Emily. Speak the truth and ruffle feathers.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Flavio is saying Emily should bring her husband on the live one day. I don't know. You think he'll do it?
I don't know. I think he might one time. I mean, he just doesn't really care about real estate. He'll come and probably talk to y'all about politics.
Oh,
And he'll talk
we'll
to you,
bring
I don't
Aaron.
know
We'll
if he
bring
knows
Aaron
about
on.
real
We'll bring
estate.
Aaron on. Yeah.
Oh, him and Aaron. Yeah, that would.
But to your point, I don't know. So I'll just speak of it like a lot of the fire departments. And to your point, I wouldn't say they have separate standards, but they have changed the standards to enter to probably accommodate more people. And a lot of that also is from funding purposes. So there's more funding for accommodating more people to get in. So even like the stations now, because they have to be built with separate showers. So like there's some that are like community showers, the old stations, right? And that's not going to fly for the most part nowadays, right? So even for funding purposes, all the new stations being built have to be built a certain way, certain compliances. So it's all money involved also. So that's also why standards have been changed to accommodate certain people to possibly get in, or more people, different people to get in. And then there's more funding on that standpoint. And I'm trying to stay as even.
Yeah.
I just think if you have I have to be able to carry this amount of weight, I have to be able to run in this amount of time, I have to be able to do this many pull-ups or whatever. I don't care if you're a male or if you, I don't care. But I feel like I should have the opportunity if I want that job as a female, but I should meet the same standard you do. And if I can't, then I don't think I should be in there, because you shouldn't get left in a fire because I can't pull you out of there.
But so to that point though, the standard changed, right? So they changed it so the people are passing. It's just they accommodated it to.
Yeah, so they're putting you all at more risk, because the standard changed, but that doesn't mean you don't get left in a burning building, because now, you know what I'm saying? Like you're
Yeah.
putting.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with you. I'm just saying that the standards have been changed. So it's not as if someone's not passing or passing a different current standard, but they may not have passed the previous standard.
Well, why are we doing that in our society? You know, why are we making everything easier for everybody? And instead of saying, hey, let's be better, let's be more successful, because people, if you expect excellence, you're going to get excellence. If you're always lowering the standard, we live in this world where, oh, you tried, good job. And whatever. But I mean, I think that if you work harder, you should be able to have more opportunities. And that's what I love about the United States. I've lived in other countries. I have friends that are immigrants from other countries, and they come here. And if you work really hard, you can succeed. And some of the most successful people I know are people that came here with nothing, and they busted their butts and they put in the work and have built amazing lives for themselves because they had opportunities here that they didn't have where they came from. And I think that when your reward and your success stops coming from your effort, we don't use red pens. We don't want to hurt kids' feelings. We don't give bad grades anymore. That was
They don't use red pens anymore.
What's that?
They really don't use red pens anymore.
It was a thing several years ago where with grading and stuff, I can't remember, but I will tell you what, when I was in grad school, I was teaching history. I was getting my master's degree. And so I was a TA. And I was teaching we were grading these papers, and we were all sitting there talking to ourselves about how poorly written these basic history papers were. We were teaching the first year of kids entering into college that had gone all the way through school with no child left behind. And so instead of saying, wait, you're struggling, let's help you, let's get you figured out before we move you on, so much funding, so much stuff was connected to pushing kids through the system. So you had kids in college who had very little basic writing proficiency, and they were struggling, and they're 18, 19 years old, and their moms are calling me because they don't like their grades. This is college. This is an adult. I'm not changing this grade, but this is the system we're creating.
Yeah, it's the wrong. It's inverted. You know, rewards and penalties are inverted. Like if you're ultra successful, you sort of get punished in a way, right? And if you don't do anything and you're non-productive, you get rewarded with free stuff. And like, So it doesn't incentivize you to move forward. I had a lady who worked with me in the insurance business. She didn't want me to give her a pay raise because it took her up in the next tax bracket. She was like, don't give me a pay raise, right? So think about this. I always think, I'm like, we should invert the tax system. You should get taxed the most if you pay less, the highest percentage. Because then think about it. If you make 50 grand and the next tax bracket is 60, and your taxes go from 35% to 25%. So you not only make 10,000 more, you actually make probably, I don't know, 15,000 more. Would you just be like, screw it? Or like, hey, let's go, like, how can we do this? How can we like figure out how to make another 10 grand or something? Right. I don't know if that would work. I think people have probably just been beat up too much now. They're like, screw it. Somebody else will deal with it. But I don't know. It could work.
Well, my agents in my office, the way my brokerage is set up, they have a cap. So I have a ratio and a commission that I take. Once I get that much commission in their year, they get 100% of their commission for the rest of the year. So if they kill it and that second part of the year, and some agents hit their cap in a couple months, some of them don't hit their cap, but they're rewarded because if they really kick it into gear, they get 100% of their commission. Some businesses have structures where up to this amount, you get this percentage, up to this amount, you get this percentage, but there's an incentive for them to do more because, man, I'm really going to keep and retain more money.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Hey, I see
But then if the federal government kills them for doing that, especially real estate agents, like if you're getting crushed. Like, but actually, I guess if your real estate agents own some property too, they can do the bonus depreciation thing. And
go invest it.
They're full time. Yeah.
Don't just keep buying a new Cadillac every year. Go actually buy some assets.
Yeah, right. Hey, Mark, quick question. They have Buc-ee's in Hawaii?
No, but they should. But apparently Wegmans or something is this new thing. Emily was.
It's not new.
Yeah, Wegmans isn't new.
No, I know, but it was brought up the other week. But Buc-ee's is when I was in North Carolina last year taking my son to see his grandparents. We went. Where did we go? Went to Georgia, but we went through South Carolina, and then Val, who was here earlier, he said, "Hey, you gotta go hit Buc-ee's in South Carolina." So we went there, and I probably spent like $400 at Buc-ee's. Yeah. Coffee mugs and
they're building a Wegmans where Mark invests by Pittsburgh. I'm not exactly sure where they're building it, right? But they're going to do a Wegmans there. So if you know Wegmans, Derek, do they have them in Florida? I know them from.
They don't, but they have them in Virginia.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Love Wegmans.
Buc-ee's is probably way better, but hey, I see it. Yeah, Buc-ee's is awesome. My kid loved it when we walked in. He's just like, "Oh my goodness!" The bathrooms were like super clean, like you could eat off the floor. That's all the reels that you put out, right? Like, this is super clean, and it's crazy over there. Hey, I see Art Life here. Thank you for stopping by. I haven't seen you here before, but I'll put Emily and Derek's social media so you can also connect with them, but also please subscribe. But yeah, just going back to the whole fire department or even the military, but it's just like anything, it comes back to funding or money, right? So I think a lot of it is that's why the standards may have changed. There's just more money involved, right?
Well, and the one thing I'm noticing with some of the law enforcement, we still have a lot of friends in law enforcement, and they're having a hard time hiring and filling all their positions. And I feel like the standard should be higher, but they should pay them more. And so people are leaving that are like my husband, when he was a state trooper, he had a master's in public administration. He'd been an officer in the Army. He was capped out at what he could make. I mean, he really, unless we moved to be in a higher position, and we couldn't move because I own a brokerage, he couldn't make any more. And so I feel like there should be a much higher training standard, but we should be paying them significantly more. So we have this more elite trained service. But you got to pay them more to make people that are qualified want to take those jobs.
All right. Well, anything else you guys want to conspiracy stuff you want to bring up, Derek, or wrap it up with? Or we got whatever amount of time you guys got. You guys
don't get me started. Don't get me started on my conspiracies. But it is interesting. I'll just say one thing.
Yeah.
It is interesting that they're allegedly uncovering lots and lots of fraud in Minnesota, and then all of a sudden someone gets shot in Minnesota. Ooh, like, I don't know.
Look over here. Look over here.
Yeah.
Look over here. Hey, over here. Don't look over here. Look over here.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
interesting.
Anything else, Emily?
Distraction. No, it's just
No,
all
yeah, it's
whenever something big goes on, I'm like, what are we not supposed to be paying attention to?
That's right. That's right.
yeah. It was so close. I believe I don't know. Well, actually, it's not fact check. I just saw something like how the proximity was so close to the George Floyd incident. I mean, just random, but it was just very in that similar block neighborhood. I don't know if you want to play, but just very close to that area. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like the all this stuff that goes on, the majority of the people, it's like, what's everybody arguing about today? Like what thing that was thrown out to get the two sides pissed off at each other again, right? I'm for this, I'm not for this. I'm for this, I'm not for this. Like it's all just, we as entrepreneurs just have to like, yeah, I see that. Like, let's keep moving the ball down the field because everybody else is just distracted. And like, I think the world has gotten, chaotic for sure. And there's a lot of insanity in the world. Like, I could go on and on about the different things that are actually insane, that people actually think that they're sane, but they're not. But it's like, you ever seen well, the news goes downtown to the protest, right? Oh my God, there's protests all over LA. If you're there, they're on one block and the cameras are pointed on the one block. The other 99.886999% of LA, everybody's just going about their day, right? So you can point it in one specific area and make it seem a lot worse than it is, if that makes sense.
And I think I find if a lot of people are really elevated, especially when I watch Facebook, just my local Facebook, holy moly, the amount of things that people are aggressively, hatefully spewing, these blanket statements publicly, like people that own businesses sometimes. And I'm like, how are you? If you actually have somebody who has the self-awareness to have a conversation, even if it's a friend that feels differently than you, because some people are like, if you don't believe me, delete me, we're not friends. But even people on different sides of things, if you actually sit down and have a conversation, and not a 15-minute a conversation where everyone can say everything they need to say. Most people are not that far off from each other. They have similar core feelings about how to treat people and how things should be, and maybe they feel a different person can make that happen in a different way. But we're a lot closer than we think we are if people would have conversations instead of rage screaming posts on the internet. And the less we actually interact with each other in the world, and the more we're just making posts and not having in-person conversation, this is getting worse and scarier.
I do want to just like Derek, you're talking about kind of where, wherever the media is maybe at the event or what they're picturing. But so this was on X, and this was just talking about like how like CNN reports inflation, right? So it was 6% inflation under Joe Biden versus 2% under Donald Trump. But CNN reported it. So U.S. inflation is still high, but it's falling. Last month's consumer price index measured 6% down from January's 6.4, and that's how they presented it under Biden, right? And under Trump, they say U.S. inflation remained at 2.7 in December, underscoring persistent cost of living challenges, right? So it's gone down quite a bit, but yet they're trying to say under Biden, right? It's almost a rosier picture, right? So it's just interesting how the media spins thing into kind of getting people, like you're saying, to react against each other and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
And he is a business. People need to remember they're not these neutral actors. And I remember during COVID when things were just crazy and we would switch back and forth between the news channels at the same time. You go Fox, CNN, and they'd be talking about the exact, just to see the lens. I think the thing is, we just got to be critically thinking. Think what you want, believe for yourself, but know how to critically think and not listen to what people are telling you. I don't care what you believe. I just care that you believe it for yourself and you're doing the research.
Yeah.
Very true. Well, I don't know if you guys got anything else. I just want to kind of wrap it up with, like I said, our original topic was on, do dumb people get richer? And the closing is, dumb isn't a lack of intelligence. Dumb is the cost of starting. everyone starts dumb. The winners just start anyways. Yeah. Anything else you guys got?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
All right, I'm glad you could do it, Derek. Man, it's been a while, man. Like I said,
Yeah.
Happy New Year. I believe what another. I don't know if I talked to you. Did you have another baby? Right? I don't think I talked to you since then, right?
No,
was it?
no,
Yeah.
yeah, we
Yes.
have another one now. We have
Yeah.
she's 7 months now.
Yeah. Congrats,
So,
man.
yeah. Do you really have 5 kids, Emily? Oh,
No.
She
oh,
had
well, you mentioned
none.
that earlier. You said, I think you were just giving
Yeah, I
an
think you're
example.
giving an
Oh,
example.
yeah. No, I have 0 kids.
Okay, got it.
Don't
got
get her started on that now.
it. Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Emily, thanks for always doing this on Fridays with me. I'll be back tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Pacific, with Coach Nick, Lead Pray Huddle, for our weekly Bitcoin wrap up. And everyone, like I said, go check out Brady's book on Amazon and go hit up Derek and Emily on social media and connect with them. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.